The Great Taking and the Only Solution. The Great Taking is an economic documentary that should be listed as the scariest movie ever made because of how it shows a clear plan to confiscate wealth across the Western world through real estate and bank bail-ins during a planned financial collapse. You are invited to read or download The Great Taking at thegreattaking.com, a book written about the scheme of central bankers to subjugate humanity by taking all securities, bank deposits, and property financed with debt. Central bankers have a system in place to take everything from everyone. The documentary, based on The Great Taking, is now available on chd.tv, Rumble, and YouTube. Please help spread the word. I made screenshots of a few key paragraphs of The Great Taking in order to create this video and later translate it into French and Spanish. What is this book about? It is about the taking of collateral, all of it. The end game of this globally synchronous debt accumulation supercycle. This is being executed by long-planned, intelligent design, the audacity and scope of which is difficult for mind to encompass. Included are all financial assets, all money on deposit at banks, all stocks and bonds, and hence all underlying property of all public corporations, including all inventories, plant and equipment, land, mineral deposits, inventions, and intellectual property. Privately owned personal and real estate property financed with any amount of debt will be similarly taken, as will the assets of privately owned businesses which have been financed with debt. One might seek comfort in thinking that this must be crazy. Nothing like this has ever happened before. But it has. The precedent for the intent, design, and horrific execution of such a plan can be found by examining the early 20th century, the period of the Great Wars and the Great Depression. The proclaimed Great Reset, now in progress, however, includes major innovations which will allow unprecedented concentration of wealth and power over humanity through deprivation. How might it come to pass that you will own nothing, as so boldly predicted by the World Economic Forum? It certainly is not about the personal convenience of renting. The authorities, the regulators, failed, but they can't be blamed or even prosecuted for that. The financial system must be restored so that we can provide credit to you again, create jobs, and get the economy growing, whatever it takes. This time, what it will take is all of your property, or what you thought was your property. Here is your central bank digital currency deposited on your smartphone so that you can buy milk. Noblesse oblige. Money is an extremely efficient control system. People order themselves upon money incentives, and thus difficult, dangerous, and energy-intensive overt physical control need not be employed broadly. But the money control system breaks down at the end of a monetary supercycle, with collapse in the velocity of money. Velocity, or VOM. This is a multi-decade process. In the next global financial panic, what are the chances that there will be much of anything remaining in these pools of securities after the secured creditors have helped themselves. There will be a game of musical chairs. When the music stops, you will not have a seat. It is designed to work that way. It is time to ask, cui bono? Who benefits? It is certainly not the citizens who have lost their property rights, who have been betrayed in this deception by their own governments. In the unlikely event of a shortfall of securities, the client in question will not be able to claim a right of separation, but will likely be considered as an unsecured creditor without priority to the assets of the bankruptcy estate. The purpose of the safe harbors from their inception has been to promote stability in large and inherently unstable financial markets by protecting transactions in those markets from being disturbed during a bankruptcy. As explained in the legislative history of the original safe harbor, the financial stability of the clearing houses, with often millions of dollars at their disposal, would be severely threatened by exposure to avoidance claims. As well, actions to avoid margin payments made by clearinghouses could set off a chain reaction of insolvencies among all other market participants, threatening the entire industry. United States Bankruptcy Court, Southern District of New York. The court agrees with J.P. Morgan Chase that the safe harbors apply here, and it is appropriate for these provisions to be enforced as written and applied literally in the interest of market stability. J.P. Morgan Chase, as one of the leading financial institutions in the world, quite obviously is a member of the protected class. And so, only a member of the protected class is empowered to take customer assets in this way. Smaller secured creditors are not similarly privileged. In the aftermath of the 2007-2008 global financial crisis, no executive was convicted of a crime for the use and subsequent loss of client assets. Quite to the contrary, the bankruptcy of Lehman Brothers was used to establish case law precedent that the protected class of secured creditors have an absolute priority claim to client assets, and that potentially and practically only they will end up with the assets. Super priority is only for the protected class. The public can only be allowed an appearance of protection. Regarding the gold nationalization of 1933, people who were simply protecting themselves and their families from the actions of the Federal Reserve System were accused of hoarding gold and literally criminalized if they persisted in doing so. The rationale is incredible. You are hoarding gold, so we will take it and do what with it? Hoard it. There is no means of avoiding the final collapse of a boom brought about by credit expansion. The alternative is only whether the crisis should come sooner or as a result of voluntary abandonment of further credit expansion, or later as a final and total catastrophe of the currency system involved. When the everything bubble is imploded, we will face a deflationary depression, which will span many years, even decades. This coming great deflation is intrinsic to the great taking. The architects of the great taking have planned and prepared to use this dynamic fully, secure in their knowledge that, as night follows day, massive and prolonged deflation will certainly follow the epic debt expansion supercycle, which they created. As in the Great Depression, prolonged deflation will assure that people who are in debt will not be able to make payments on their debts, let alone repay them. They will be trapped. All property and businesses financed with debt will be taken. This great reset is anti-human. It is intended to fix in place a system something like feudalism in perpetuity, in which the populace is held in a state of deprivation and fear with the empty promise of safety. Wake up! We have been living with a protection racket in which the protectors terrorize the protected. Those supposedly protecting us from the bad guys are the bad guys. The wealthy assume that because the system has allowed them to accumulate wealth, they will be protected in some way, that they are special. You are special. They're saving you for dessert. To not know is bad. To not want to know is worse. Willful ignorance of the existence and operation of evil is a luxury even the wealthy can no longer afford. If the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around them will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies. The issuing power should be taken from the banks and restored to the people, to whom it properly belongs. Thomas Jefferson. Let us keep our faith ardent and an unfailing sincerity in these times of irremediable dissolution of the illusion. We must choose our soul at all costs. This leaves us, those awakening, those that are being targeted by the masses in the hypnosis of mass hysteria, to be strong, immovable, and totally steadfast in the face of this onslaught, which is going to become way beyond even the hysteria which is building now. We must not accept injections or any other poison from them under any circumstances, because we must maintain our connection to our unique, human, individualized soul. We need a critical mass of individuals in action, continuously raising their level of consciousness to the point of reversal. I talked about the reversal of consciousness in my video, I Surrender to My Soul. Infinite love. Let's rejoice, because the insanity we are experiencing is an illusion, which is forcing more and more people to awaken. However, we must have compassion for those who are incapable of awakening, because the mRNA injections have created a separation from the individual soul. The only way out of the illusion is through absolute non-compliance. The courageous ones have consciously chosen to get out of the illusion and will continue their evolution of consciousness on the ascending crystal spiral. I know my jail experience was a blessing because it forced me to leave Canada and what was perceived as a perfect life of a very successful dentist and a mother of 2 wonderful children. I accessed the courage within me, abandoned myself to my soul, and jumped into the complete unknown. Today, I'm able to offer guidance to those who choose life in Colombia or Ecuador. A long-term stay at Cascada Café Retiro is $120 per week. During your stay, expand your consciousness with a 2-day Infinite Love Consciousness workshop. Who am I? And what the hell have I come to do on this earth? Learn about the miraculous Sacha Inchi nut. This oleaginous plant has a very high protein content with all the essential amino acids and fatty acids for the maximum well-being of human health. Finally, I offer reconstructive dentistry at a very affordable price. I'm guided by the teachings of Sri Aurobindo and the Mother. Since February 29, 1956, the supermind has been operational on Earth as an active evolutionary power. A new phase of evolution has begun amidst the collapse of the old world. Infinite Love Consciousness is an invitation to take part in an unprecedented adventure of consciousness. Will you join us? Infinite